In this video, I want to walk you through how to change the property of any element. If I go to the design and I choose any element, and by any I mean any element. If I choose this button, for instance, and say I want to change the text by clicking another button, how can I do that? So all I need to do is just to look at what the ID of that button is. So let me just rename this to button to change. Not the best of names, but it's just for me to know that this is what this button is. And I want to say change me. And by the way, I can actually click on a particular button to change something there as well. So, but for now, I want to click on this button and I want to change something here. So how can I do that? Let me also rename this button and let me call this button submit. So change. All right, so this is the idea, and I don't want this video to be too long. I want to click on this button, and once I click on this button, I want to change certain properties here. So how can I do that? Now, one thing first is, of course, I need an on event, right? So if I go to the code, I'm gonna collapse this. If I go to the code, I need this on event. Now with the on event, this is the button. The button submit is the button I want to click on, and the event is click, and there I have a function. All right, and of course semicolon here. So what do I want to do when I click on this button? I want to change some properties here. So how can I do that? So if you want to change any property, and by any property, let me quickly rename this to change any property. All right, and by any property I mean any property. However, all these elements have different properties, so you want to make sure you know what property you're changing first. And the way to do that is by going to the design here, click on this button. Now all these things you see here, text, width, height, X position, Y position, text color, everything, we can change all these properties using this button. And so let's go ahead and let's say we want to change the width of this button. Notice now that the width at this time is 100. So I'm going to change the width to say 300. How can I do that? So if we head back to the code tab, the function we want to use is called set property. Now set property just changes the property of that particular element. In this case, the element we want to change its property is button to change. So I'll select that element, and then what property do I want to change? That's the second thing that goes in there. And so now I want to change the width of this button, and I want to change the width. Recall that it was initially 100, right? And it has given me different options here. So I'm just going to pick this 200 just so I see what's happening. And please pay attention. This is the button that would change. And let's run this. And once I click on change, you can see now that we have changed me. The width has increased. Now let's change some other properties in this same text box. And let's see how we can do that. And like I said, there are lots of properties we can change, but let's go for background color. Now, it turns out that in background color, you see this RGB. I'm just going to simply copy that RGB. And one thing I can do is to, if I have a color in mind that I want, I can just simply look at this, look at the color here. So let's say I want this color. For any reason I want this color, and I can toggle here to RGB. There's even RGBA, so you have different color codes here. But if you notice now, we have RGB 93, 3, 127, and then the A is 1. Now the A we won't need, so but for now we would just use the RGB of that particular color. So 933127, that's what we'll use right here. So I'm going to set the property of that same button, which is button to change. I'm going to set this property called the background color, and I want to set that to RGB. Notice now that I have different things I can change, right? I can use the X code. This is the hexadecimal code. I can use RGBA. A is just more like how transparent do I want it to be. Alpha, actually, that's the word alpha. But if you want to think of it, just think of how transparent I want it to be. RGB is just red, green, blue. And so if you're thinking of this, it's more like saying this is the quantity of red I want, and this is the quantity of green I want, and this is the quantity of blue I want. Same thing here. RGBA, this is the quantity of red I want, this is the quantity of green I want, this is the quantity of blue I want, but I also want to make it a little bit transparent for about 0.5. So let's go for this actually, so you see the difference. And I'm going to head back to this place and I'll check again to see 933127. That's what I want to choose. 933127. So 93 3 and finally 127. All right, and I'm going to choose an alpha of 0.5, and I have a semicolon there. Now let me quickly change this because I used this just to give me that color. All right, so I'm going to look for this color again. Okay, so actually it's fine because this is the color I changed. I actually thought it was this one. But then I'm going to click on this color now, and it's going to change this button. It's going to change this change me button to this color. So let's go ahead and run this and let's see if that works actually. And now you see we've changed that color to this color. Now you see that there's a little bit of transparency, and let's get back here just so you see what this does. This is RGBA alpha. And I changed that to 1, and I'm resetting and rerunning again, and now you see they're the same thing, exactly the same thing. And you can change this alpha. The alpha, like I said, is just for transparency. How transparent do you want it to be? If I change it to 0.9, it's going to look more closely like this color right here. So if I go ahead and run, now you see it says 0. This is 0.9, so I wanted to say 0.1 actually. So the closer you are to 1, the less transparent it is. The closer you are to 0, the more transparent it is. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna reset again and change. Now you see the transparency here. All right, so this is what I want to show you in this video. I'm gonna make another video just to show you another property or some other properties we can change, because I don't want this video to be too long, and hopefully this is helpful. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.